We didn't get Ralph Bonard, and it wasn't Miss Minutes. Kang the Conqueror actually showed up in the season finale for Loki. Let's discuss. What's going on, fellow MCU fans? I'm very happy to have you back here at the channel and checking out my review for the season finale of Loki. At the end of this episode, in the post-credits, in case you missed it, it's been confirmed that a season 2 of Loki is officially happening. And I, for one, am so happy. Not only do I love Tom Hiddleston as Loki, but I love Owen Wilson as Mobius, and is probably one of my favourite MCU characters of all time. Yes, I love him that damn much. Now, the MCU is on a roll in terms of streaming shows. WandaVision, big hit. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, big hit. And now Loki. Maybe even a bigger hit because of some of the reveals that happened in this episode and what it means for the future of the MCU, what it means for Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, and also Ant-Man 3. Now, the MCU shows so far have been pretty good. I've enjoyed them all. But I think that Loki is probably the most pleasing, the most beautiful show to look at, and definitely had some awesome reveals. Something that WandaVision maybe didn't have, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't have either. Now, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is probably my favourite of the MCU shows so far. I really dug that show. I thought it was brilliant. Really enjoyed the writing, the acting, some of the themes that it hit as well about racism and Bucky with PTSD. But Loki for me was just a lot of fun. I love the comedic elements in it. I love Mobius, Loki, Sylvie. Didn't like her at the start, but as the episodes went on, and especially in this episode, I really liked the character. And then Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors showing up for this season finale was just fantastic. It was so good to watch him just perform. He looked like he was having such a good time. He looked like he was having such a great time, which is just unbelievable to see. He's a top-notch actor. If you've watched Lovecraft Country, which was just recently cancelled, big mistake, I think, but now the MCU have him, and he probably will have more of a successful career in that direction than maybe Lovecraft Country season 2. Maybe, I'm not too sure, but this season was pretty good, and the only episode that I probably didn't like was episode 3, and that's the one episode that didn't have Mobius, and that's why I probably didn't like it. But we were going into this episode, the season finale, and a lot of us were in fear. We really were, because we go into WandaVision season finale and we're like, oh, will they answer all the questions? They didn't. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, will they answer all the questions? They didn't. Loki, will they answer all the questions? They didn't. But it's very different from those two previous shows. This show, we get a season 2, and it not only set up season 2, but it also set up other movies that I've mentioned, like Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3, and Ant-Man 3. So I kind of forgive this one a little bit more, because we will get a season 2, and I was pretty happy at the ending for this episode. I actually loved the ending of this episode. It reminded me of the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes films, where Mark Wahlberg travels through space, he goes to Earth, and in this Earth, there's no humans, there's just apes, and they rule Earth. Kind of reminded me of that, where Loki kind of appears in a different timeline. He meets Mobius and B-Hunter 15, and then they don't recognize him. They don't know who he is. And then there's a big, massive statue of Kang the Conqueror. And that's very different from the statues that were there before, when it was the 3 timekeepers. So, yeah, what exactly is going on? But they go up to this big castle, this big mansion, and Miss Minutes appears. And we're like, oh no, it's going to be Miss Minutes, isn't it? Oh my god. It's an animated character. That's who the TVA is. But no, it was just a trick. And basically Miss Minutes was saying to Loki and Sylvie, look, we can give you whatever you want. You want to go live in a certain timeline where maybe you won in New York, Loki, and the two of you can live together in a certain timeline together at the same time. We can give that to you. You want to accept that deal? But of course, Sylvie and Loki have gotten this far. They're not going to give up so easily. Sylvie wants to find out who the TVA is, who the Wizard of Oz is, and kill them for them, taking her out of her world, out of her timeline, as a child, and ruining her life. That's what her mission is. And Loki is kind of with her. he really is. He has feelings for her. He loves her. Loki is starting to accept himself, and he kind of forgives himself a little bit from the past stuff that he has done. But he definitely is on this journey with Sylvie, and Loki as a character has grown. I don't see this Loki turning on people as much, because at the start of this season in episode 1, 2 and 3, he was looking for a way out. He was trying to turn on people. He wasn't to be trusted, but he's definitely gone through a progression of character where now I actually believe this Loki. I actually don't think this Loki would turn on Sylvie or Mobius anymore. I think he feels for those people and he wants them to be happy. He wants to be happy himself, and he kind of has a family now, which I think is pretty beautiful, as well. But they meet Kang, and it's revealed as Jonathan Majors, as Kang the Conqueror. It's actually him. He shows up. And he looked like he was having a great time, Jonathan Majors. He really did. His acting was brilliant. He was eating an apple. I kind of thought it was maybe Adam and Eve, kind of thing, eating the apples off the tree, the forbidden fruit, something like that, which I thought was nice little symbolism there. Maybe it was done on purpose. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. That's what I kind of thought of straight away, but I thought it was pretty cool. And basically this episode is just explaining what the multiverse is. It's explaining it to us as fans, saying, hey, you want to know what the multiverse is? Well, here you go. Here's a breakdown for you. And Kevin Feige did say that you don't necessarily have to watch the Disney Plus shows to understand what's going up on the big screen for the MCU in a theatrical format. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, really, Kevin Feige? Really? You don't have to watch Loki? Because Loki is a pretty good show and it really sets up the multiverse pretty well. And even in the opening credits of this episode, the Marvel logo that we get to see for every show and movie, which is pretty cool. This time is a little bit different because every character that appeared, they kind of a voiceover from one of the previous movies happened as well. So that was pretty cool, and this kind of showed me that, oh, this is the MCU here. This is the Earth that we've watched over the last, 24, 25 movies and shows. And then the camera pans out and the galaxy gets bigger. There's different planets, there's kind of spaceships flying through. Like, what? That's the MCU right there. What's all this other stuff? Well, it's the multiverse of madness. And I really like that kind of introduction to it. And then Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror, explains what the multiverse is. And he explains the multiverse wars, which I thought was pretty interesting. Something that I actually really like to see. We might get to see that actually in future movies or shows, maybe Secret Invasion or one of them kind of massive multiverse wars in the future. It'd be something cool to see. Maybe, the MCU Earth versus Toby's Earth or something like that. I don't know. Something like that would be pretty interesting and pretty cool. But he basically explains what the multiverse is and that he was a scientist. And he found out that there was different multiverses and he tried to kind of branch over to them and he got to meet variants of himself, and they worked together on technology and on science and on making the Earth a better place. But then, of course, there was variants that were evil and wanted to take over the multiverse and wanted to rule every single galaxy, every single multiverse, every single Earth planet existed. And then there was a multiverse war between all of the Kangs, Kang the Conqueror. And the Kang that we meet in this episode was the one who won and kind of put order to the galaxy, put order to the timeline and the sacred timeline. And he constructed the TVA to exist to make sure that nobody, person, alien, thing, would try and conquer the multiverse again, try and take it for themselves. So he created the TVA. It was kind of a lie, but it was a necessary lie to bring order to the timelines. And the people at the TVA thought they were created from these time gods, but the timekeepers, but they actually weren't. They're actually variants. But Kang thought this was necessary, that people believed in the TVA. They believed in the sacred timeline. They believed that you couldn't branch into different multiverses, because what would happen is that you would mess up the timeline and maybe somebody would realize, oh, I can jump to different timelines here. Maybe I can rule them all. And that's what Kang's fear was. And that's what he tried to prevent. So every time somebody crossed over to a different multiverse that they weren't necessarily supposed to be in, that's when they got pruned and brought to that planet that we got to see Loki and Mobius and Sylvie go to in last week's episode, where they fought the big massive kind of ghost monster or fog monster. That's what the order was for, which kind of makes sense. And I talked about this a few episodes as well. I said, look, maybe the TVA is a lie, but maybe it's a necessity. Maybe it needs to exist because there's something larger, there's something bigger on the horizon if it doesn't. And in this episode, we find out that there is something bigger. There is something that is I would say a bigger threat than Thanos on the way if the TVA does not exist. And it's going to happen. And Jonathan Major's character, he's just chilling there. He's having his apple. He's explaining all this. Kind of a cool kind of, I don't know, alien technology he used to show himself in the Multiverse Wars. I thought it was pretty cool. But his kind of end game here is Loki, Sylvie, I want you to run the TVA. I want the TVA to still exist. I want it to exist. So order is brought to the timelines. Nobody jumps over and starts a multiverse war. That's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you power to rule the TVA, to rule time. That's what he's giving them, or you can kill me. And then Sylvie and Loki's like, why are you doing this? Why would you give us power? Why would you step down from all this power? And Kang's like, I'm tired. I've been doing this a long time. I'm older than I look. And he wants his way out. But Kang knows everything. He knows everything. And everything that we've seen in the MCU, he's seen it. He knows about it. He wanted it to happen because that's the way this timeline, this world was supposed to go. He was okay with, Loki, with the war in New York, with Thanos, because it was always supposed to happen in this timeline, in this kind of Earth. With the Avengers even going back in time, we got to find out in earlier episodes that was supposed to happen, but really that's a little bit messy. Time travel can be messy anyway, but he knows everything. But the one thing, maybe the first time in his life that he doesn't know, is what the decision will be from Loki and Sylvie. And Sylvie and Loki are very much going against her in this episode because Loki believes Kang the Conqueror that if we kill this guy, if we kill Kang the Conqueror, something bigger. Because Kang says that if you kill me, you can kill me if you want, but there's a bigger threat coming. There's different variants of me coming. And they're bigger, they're stronger, maybe as strong, but they're evil. They're more evil than him, because he seemed like kind of a nice guy. He really did. But there is other variants of him that will come, and they're evil, and they will try and take over every single multiverse. But Sylvie, her childhood taken away from her, never seeing her family again, she only has one goal in mind, and that's to kill Kang the Conqueror. Kill the TVA once and for all. But Loki believes him and wants to take over the TVA for Kang the Conqueror and make sure that this war does not happen. Then Loki and Sylvie have a pretty good fight. I thought it was nicely done. I really did. And then the two of them kiss as well. And then you get to see Sylvie pushes Loki back to the TVA through kind of the portal. So they got to kiss. I never expected them to kiss because I thought, they're the same person. I think they just have really strong feelings for each other. But I think, did she just kiss him because she has feelings for him? Or did she just kiss him because she wanted to trick him? And I don't think this Loki would turn on Mobius or turn on Sylvie. I think he's progressed as a character. He would not do that anymore. But Sylvie did it. She goes, I'm not you. And then she goes and she kills Kang. Big mistake. I can just imagine Doctor Strange right now not again. That's what's happening right now, and that's the mess he'll have to clean up in Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness. Mobius kind of had a side mission in this episode as well. He confronted Ravonna. Ravonna's kind of confused because she's been lied to, but she doesn't want to kind of give up on the TVA or the Timekeepers or Kang because she feels that this was her purpose. There has to be a bigger meaning behind it. And in this episode, we get to see her leave. We don't know where she goes, but I'm guessing she meets the Kang the Conqueror that we will see in Ant-Man 3, or the bigger Kang the Conqueror, the evil one that we will see in future movies. And maybe they hook up because in the comics, they got together. They were kind of a love interest. So I see that happening, definitely, because she just really, it's kind of like a cult mentality. She really believes in the TVA and she feels like her life, her purpose was to, do as they wish. And now when she meets Kang, she actually meets her maker, necessarily, her maker. She's going to probably even like him even more, probably fall in love. We got to see that she was a variant. And Mobius and Hunter B-15 were able to tell and show the other TVA members, the other guards, that this is all a lie because they brought them to 2018, which is a timeline where Ravonna was a principal of a school. Because those TVA members believe that they're not variants. They believe that they were constructed, they were created by the Timekeepers, but they were not. And when Sylvie pushed Loki back into the TVA world and into their headquarters, Loki is devastated. Tom Hiddleston's acting in this episode was just brilliant, by the way. He was fantastic. Top notch. Just really, really brilliant. Fantastic actor. Unbelievable. But then he tries to go find Mobius and Hunter B-15, and he finds them, and they're like confused, like, who are you? Do you know who you are? You know, and Loki's like, what do you mean? And then Loki sees the big massive statue of Kang the Conqueror. Now, I don't know if Loki's timeline was erased or Loki was pushed into a different timeline. I'm not too sure right now. I'm really not. Maybe when he was pushed back into his timeline, and then when Sylvie killed the Kang that we meet in this episode, it reset his timeline, or maybe she pushed him into a different timeline. I'm not too sure. We'll find out in season 2, of course, because the season 2 is confirmed. But I think we could see Loki maybe in Doctor Strange 2. I actually think that could happen. I wouldn't rule out Spider-Man 3 either, even just for a second, because Loki right now will need to be the one that probably helps Doctor Strange and tell Doctor Strange what exactly is going on with the TVA, who Kang the Conqueror is, because Doctor Strange will need somebody to explain this to him, because he needs to clean up this mess. I don't know where Sylvie will be. I think Sylvie will go through kind of a Thor thing. You know, Thor kind of regretted not going for the head with Thanos. I think that Sylvie will regret killing Kang and not listening to Loki. I think we'll see something like that, which could be an interesting story team going forward, and that's one I hope they do. But Loki, guys, season 1, it's confirmed for a season 2. These 6 episodes, I enjoyed them. I think the weakest was episode 3 for me, but this season finale, something that maybe WandaVision didn't do, and maybe something that Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't do as well, was nail the season finale. But then again, this has a season 2. Those other shows won't and didn't. So yeah, there's that. But I've enjoyed the last 6 weeks talking about this online with you guys, doing videos about it as well, breakdowns, discussions, you know, theories and stuff like that. I didn't get all my theories right, but I did get some of them right as well, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy. But no, it was enjoyable. I'm glad that this show happened. I'm glad that the MCU has now not completely converted to Disney Plus, but it's also offering those different platforms for these characters that you wouldn't get to see on the big screen as much, like a Sylvie or a Mobius, you know. So I think that's pretty awesome. I was surprised to see Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors, pop up in this show, since he will be in an MCU movie as well. But you know what? When he shows up in Ant-Man 3, I think he will play a different version of Kang the Conqueror. I don't think he will act anything like the one we've seen in this series. I think he'll be more menacing, more of a villain, and that's going to be interesting to see Jonathan Majors, you know, portray Kang the Conqueror in different ways, because there's different variants. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But guys, did you like Loki season 1? Did you like all 6 episodes? Maybe you didn't. Do you think that the season finale nailed it? That's a big question. Did you like it? Did it make no sense? Was it messy? What should have Sylvie done? Should she have listened to Loki? Maybe she should have. And what do you think is going to happen for season 2? Guys, I appreciate you watching the video. Give a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy. And Loki will get a season 2. And the Multiverse of Madness is going to be insane. Spider-Man 3 is going to be insane. The multiverse is cracked open, and there's branches, there's breaches, there's everything's happening with the timeline right now. It's insane. What could happen? Who could show up? I don't know, but I can't wait to watch the next installment in this kind of story of the multiverse. Guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy and have a good day.